General Hospital spoilers tease that Lulu Spencer awoke with a start, the pre-dawn silence of Port Charles pressing in around her. Her chest tightened as she recalled the hasty conversations and furtive glances she had witnessed over the past weeks. Lois Cerullo, grandmother figure, confidant, keeper of secrets, had begun to behave strangely whenever Joe's name was mentioned. In the corridors of General Hospital, in Lois's meticulously orderly sitting room, in the press room back at the Port Charles Sentinel, always that same flicker of discomfort in her eyes. What little Lulu knew of Joe's beginnings was that he had arrived into the world amid great celebration. His birth had been heralded as a miracle, a symbol of hope for Sonny Corinthos and Carly Spencer, reunited at last and ready to begin a family. In the weeks that followed, the baby's christening, his first smiles, and his rapid milestones had been chronicled endlessly by reporters, family, and friends. Yet a subtle unease had haunted Lulu. She sensed there was more to Joe's story than met the eye. Determined to get to the truth, Lulu began her investigation by revisiting Lois's statements. In a small, dimly lit cafe on Front Street, Lois had once confided that the circumstances of Joe's adoption had involved complex family considerations. When Lulu pressed for details, Lois had offered only vague reassurances about preserving reputations and sparing a child from scandal. But beneath Lois's gentle tone lay a hardness Lulu recognized, a woman shielding herself from regret. Lulu's first concrete lead came from a clerk at the county adoption records office. The official line was that Gio had been adopted through the state's infant placement program. But when Lulu discovered that the relevant folder had been sealed under a confidential order, she suspected a deliberate cover-up. Through a combination of freedom of information requests and a favor from a retired judge who owed Bruno Hendricks a private debt, Lulu secured partial access to the sealed file. Inside were fragments of paperwork, a hospital record noting an initial birth mother's name different from Brooke Lynn Quartermain, an adoption referral form signed by a social worker who had sketched the adoptive couple's address in the margins. The address led Lulu to a modest home on the outskirts of town, on a tree-lined street where pastel-colored houses stood in quiet rows. She approached the front door with trepidation and knocked. A middle-aged woman with gentle eyes answered, clutching a faded photo album. It contained pictures of a newborn baby boy in a blanket, a woman, his biological mother, holding him close, tears in her eyes. The woman introduced herself as Miss Patterson, a former social worker who had arranged the adoption. In hushed tones, she explained, the birth mother was Brooke Lynn Quartermain, not yet ready to face the dangers tied to her family name and the power struggles of her inheritance. The birth father was a rising police detective, Dante Falconeri, whose affiliation with law enforcement had complicated matters further. Ms. Patterson admitted that Lois Cerullo had personally intervened, pressuring the Hendersons, a couple living just a few blocks from the Falconeri home, to take the baby for a brief period, then transfer him to the Corinthos household under an amended record. Lulu's mind raced as she pieced together the truth. Gio had never left Port Charles. He had lived mere blocks from his biological parents, sheltered first by the Hendersons, then by Sonny and Carly, all under the vigilant watch of Lois Cerullo. This intimate betrayal of trust explained Lois's anxious behavior around family gatherings, her quick deflections, and her repeated insistence that Lulu not pry further. Armed with documented testimony from Ms. Patterson, the Hendersons' sworn affidavit, and redacted hospital records, Lulu faced the daunting task of revealing the secret in a way that honored the delicate bonds of friendship and family. Brooke Lynn and Dante deserved to reclaim their roles as Joe's birth parents. Gio deserved to understand the truth of his identity before entering another summer of childhood. The perfect stage would be the annual Quartermain birthday celebration, a gala originally conceived to mark the milestone birthday of one of the family's elder statesmen, but which had evolved into the event of the season. Invitations in ornate calligraphy invited family and close friends to the family estate, promising an evening of reflection, music, and unity. This year's theme, honoring our past, embracing our future, resonated with Lulu's own uphill campaign for truth. In the days leading up to the celebration, Lulu conferred with Monica Quartermaine, who had learned of Lois's orchestration but remained torn between loyalty and conscience. Monica agreed to stand with Lulu, ensuring discreet legal counsel would be on hand when the moment of revelation arrived. Lulu drafted her remarks carefully. They would acknowledge the pain of the deception, honor Lois's intention to protect, and assert the irrefutable right of Brooke Lynn, Dante, and Gio to know the truth. On the evening of the gala, the Quartermaine estate shimmered beneath strands of fairy lights. Crystal chandeliers glowed through tall windows, and marble floors echoed with the tinkle of champagne flutes. Brooke Lynn wore a gown of deep sapphire, her laughter bright, as she greeted admirers. Dante, steady and reserved in a classic tuxedo, welcomed guests with quiet grace. Gio, in a small dark suit that made him look almost grown up, scampered through the crowd, charming strangers with his impromptu jokes. Monica took to the stage in a tailored suit of midnight velvet. "Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends," she began, voice full of warm command. "Tonight we honor unity and the bonds that endure. Before our keynote address, I invite Lulu Spencer to share a special reflection on truth, love, and family." Applause rose as Lulu stepped forward, clutching her folder, a vessel of truths that would reshape lives. The string quartet fell silent. Lulu's pulse thundered in her ears, but her voice rang clear. "Thank you, Monica. Family is our foundation, built on trust and transparency. Yet sometimes, that foundation is shaken by hopes to protect, a desire to parry pain with secrets. Tonight, I bring a truth long hidden. The boy we know as Gio Corinthos is, by birth, the son of Brooke Lynn Quartermaine and Dante Falconeri. His adoption into the Corinthos family, under amended records, was organized by Lois Cerullo. What began as a compassionate lie to shield a newborn from scandal became a burden carried by many hearts. Brooke Lynn and Dante deserve to assume their roles as his birth parents, and Gio deserves to know the fullness of his story," she announced, releasing the folder onto the podium. A hush descended. Brooke Lynn's hand flew to her chest, her smile faltering. Dante's mouth compressed into a thin line. Across the room, Sunny's brow furrowed, Carly's eyes widened in shock. Lois Cerullo, seated among the guests, rose unsteadily, her face pale under the chandelier's light. Lulu pressed on. "I present the testimony of Ms. Patterson, the social worker who facilitated Joe's initial placement, and an affidavit from the Hendersons, who cared for him before his transition to the Corinthos home. My goal is not to cast blame, but to free our family from the weight of a hidden past." Her words hung in the stillness, a solemn promise of new beginnings. Lois's reaction was immediate and visceral. Her eyes burned with betrayal and fear. She took a step forward, voice trembling. "Lulu, no one dared tell you." She clutched her chest, a sudden pain radiating through her body. With a strangled cry, she collapsed. Gasps and screams shattered the poised elegance of the gala. Doctors in attendance rushed to her side, pressing stethoscopes to her heart. Brooke Lynn and Dante sprang forward, tears cascading down their faces. The paramedics arrived within minutes, carrying Lois out on a stretcher as Dante held her hand. He glanced at Brooke Lynn, eyes filled with anguish. "We never wanted this," he whispered. Brooke Lynn nodded, her voice choked, "But we need the truth. For Gio." Carly and Sunny gathered Gio in their arms. The boy's sobs softened as Carly stroked his hair. In the aftermath, Port Charles reeled. Headlines blared for days. Secret parentage revealed at Quartermaine Gala. Lois Cerullo hospitalized after truth bombshell. Quartermaine Falconeri family in crisis. Legal teams petitioned the court to amend Joe's birth certificate and clarify parentage rights. Brooke Lynn and Dante faced the delicate task of transitioning from social to legal parents, an emotional and bureaucratic journey made all the more poignant by the love they bore for a son they had never relinquished truly. Lois survived but awakened to a world forever altered. In her hospital room, Brooke Lynn sat by her side, holding her hand as tears fell silently. "I know you tried to protect me," Brooke Lynn whispered, "but this truth needed to breathe." Dante stood behind them, solemnly nodding. Ms. Patterson and the Hendersons provided further statements, reaffirming the factual basis of the adoption arrangement and Lois's pivotal role. Gio adapted with remarkable grace. Each day, Brooke Lynn would crouch beside him, cupping his face as he asked, "Am I still your son?" She would smile through tears. "Always, my love. Always." Dante and Carly shared responsibilities, parents in equal measure, so the boy felt rooted in a safe harbor of affection. For Lulu, the emotional toll was tempered by the satisfaction of truth fulfilled. She penned a deeply personal editorial on the ethics of secrecy, the rights of children to know their origins, and the transformative power of truth. The piece sparked a national conversation, drawing praise and critique but establishing Lulu as a champion of transparency. Months later, the Quartermain mansion was quiet once more, its grand rooms echoing only with laughter and renewal. Brooke Lynn and Dante hosted a modest gathering for Joe's 7th birthday, close family, dear friends, and Monica at the center, her arms open as always. As the candles flickered on a simple cake, Brooke Lynn closed her eyes, made a wish, and whispered, "To truth, to love, and to family, the ties that bind us stronger than any secret." In Port Charles, beneath ever-shifting alliances and dramas, one truth endured, that the courage to reveal what is hidden can bring the deepest healing, forging bonds of love that outlast deceit. And at the heart of it all was a boy named Gio, now free to live fully as the son of two families bound by love and the unbreakable ties of truth.